Hi, this is Brian Gordon, and I'd like to present to you my story, The Spellgrazer Saga. Hope you enjoy. Chapter 1. Demons Keep to Their Keeps. The path was worn from ages of use, travelers making their way from one point to another, pilgrims on their way to pay homage to one of the many deities worshipped throughout the Broken Lands, quests to find lost artifacts, missions from masters, soul-searching, and even just exploring. Much had changed since the calamity had torn the world to pieces, both in the physical appearance of the land and the ways of life upon it. Most of a castle stood in a field behind an even more dilapidated wall, the gates almost completely unhinged from their settings. The wind whipped through the cracks and shambles, wailing as it spread its cold, icy breath across the ruins of a once great kingdom. An interior wall surrounded the castle itself. A large tower in back reached towards the sky. Alone, a man in heavy armor walked down the dreary path. The warrior, Dunmal, was tired from his travels, and decided that an overhang along the wall would be a fair place for a quick nap. It would be nice to get off of his feet after his most recent work, which had taken him deep into the heart of the Impact Gorge. He made his way to what he thought may have been a watchtower at some point. Large gaps in the wall revealed a dust-ridden field immediately behind it. The sky was gray, the clouds thick and heavy, ready to drop their bottoms at any moment, and the melancholy tune that the wind was playing along the bones of the kingdom matched the settings perfectly. A heavy thud and loud clank broke the ambience as he tossed his enormous sword and thick oval-shaped shield down and began to loosen up the straps on his bags. His armor was rank from weeks of travel and trouble, but an herb from one of his bags covered the stench temporarily. In the dull waning of the day, his armor looked more like a pile of scrap metal, with patches of black and gold across its surface, but it had served him well. With a makeshift pillow, one of his bags, placed beneath his head, the man set his back to the wall and closed his eyes. Though his dreams were plagued by the spreading evil that threatened to envelop the land, they were not entirely unpleasant until a piece of reality shattered his slumber. A voice, calling to him in a language he could not understand, though the message was clear, rang through his surreal vision, the sound beating against his head like a club. His eyes tore open as his mind cranked back into motion. The cold dampness from the rain chilled him from the bone. The noise that had roused him from his sleep was a call of some sort, though it still sounded to the warrior much like the cry of steel being stressed beyond its limit, and it would not stop. He shook his head, rubbed his eyes, and grabbed his sword, the green glow from the blade providing a bit of light in the cold, dark rain. Over here! Another cry filled his ears, and then the familiar sound of a throat being cleared. "Over here, good sir!" He swung the tip of his blade in a controlled arc, checking for any potential villains. The donkey looked him square in the eye, a nod in return as he continued his search, but there was nobody else to be found. "Right here! Confound it! Right here, good sir!" Again, his blade moved from one side to the other, and again the donkey was his only companion. It had an upset look, its brow furrowed and its nostrils flaring as it stamped its hoof. The man gave the beast a concerned look. "Sir, you!" the donkey spoke. The man dropped his guard. The tip of his sword made a clanking noise as it fell onto the cobbled ground. A look of awe blanketed the man's face as he stared at the donkey for a moment. "Yes?" he mustered after a long pause. "Finally! Hopefully you are a better warrior than investigator. I'm in need of your services." "You, donkey? Do you need some hay, or perhaps some water? I think I see a bucket over there." He pointed to a stall that looked like a beacon in the ragged field. The donkey made another indecipherable noise and stamped its hooves profusely. Unsure of what he had done to upset the beast, Dunmal set his weapon aside and slowly moved in until he was able to pat the creature on the head and run his hand along its neck. "No need to be angry, donkey. What do you need?" The genuine concern in the man's voice shined through, and the donkey settled down. A moment or two more of snorts and snuffs, and the donkey began to unravel a tale of magic and betrayal to the warrior. Long ago, the donkey had been a man, and in his time as a man he had been a king. He had ruled in a manner he saw fit, a benevolent leader, loved by all of his people. But one of his court wizards sought power and dominion, and aimed to take his position. His current deformation was the first step of the magician's plan, a powerful curse that altered his form into that of a blustering ass. Once the king had been cast aside, the wizard intended to assume command of the kingdom and lead an invasion southward. With a spell he had found in a recent exploration of the ruins beneath the castle, the wizard halfway intentionally summoned a fearsome demon as a weapon to ensure his place on the throne. Though skilled at manipulating the elements, the wizard had entered a realm of power far beyond him when he brought forth the terrible beast. In an attempt to control the dark creature, the wizard was devoured, along with any knowledge of how to dispel the horrid violation of the light. It was not long before the entire kingdom was in ruin, falling before the eyes of the beast that was once king. His home was overrun by an army of minor beasts that the demon had summoned, and he was left to hide in the shadows. No longer concerned with reclaiming his former glory, the king simply wanted to return home, and needed Dunmall, or any wandering adventurer for that matter, to help him reclaim his fallen house. With a cautious glance around, the warrior noted a distinct lack of demonic hordes attacking him. Looking through the crumbled wall, Dunmall noticed a few small shapes that scurried from his gaze and into the inner barrier. When asked why the force of evil inhabiting the castle had not spread any further, the donkey simply told Dunmall that demons were not naturally creatures of conquest, and having a personal castle and steady supply of unwise adventurers kept them rather content within the inner walls of the castle. On occasion, a passer-by would fall victim to their dastardly ways, but the donkey assured him that for the most part the demons keep to their keeps. If food became too sparse, they may wander a short distance down the road, but truth be told, demons were rather lazy. Dunmall was surprised to hear this, but considered it for a moment, and decided that being free of their usual servitude was likely satisfaction enough for them. After all, the demons had been summoned from somewhere, and Dunmall decided that it probably wasn't pleasant. The donkey had learned quickly where the safe boundaries around the castle were, and knew when he should make himself absent of the area. Other animals in the area were not as wise into the nature of demons, and often ended up as snacks, so food was not terribly hard to find, and all in all, the demons were satisfied. They did seem to enjoy tearing intruders to small pieces, however. Dunmall finally asked about payment, and the donkey huffed before telling him that a room at the top of the tower held his supply of riches. He told the man that it would be too dangerous to go alone, and that a town about a day's travel down the road would likely have other brave warriors whose aid he could seek. If he could reach it, he and whatever crew he had with him could divide the treasures amongst themselves. The task would not be easy, and the donkey admitted to not having stepped foot inside the inner wall in quite some time. Despite his absence, he was still able to offer a description of the interior, which Dunmall then scribbled down onto a piece of paper that was tucked away in one of his bags. With a pat on the head, he bid the donkey farewell and started along the road. He considered the potential profit from the adventure, and decided he could stand a few upgrades to his armor if things worked out well. His shield, while still completely solid, was showing signs of age. The leather straps split from being gripped so tightly. Some of the rivets had fallen out during combat, and a few of the metal frame pieces were loose. While it had served him well, he knew it would cost just as much to repair it as it would to buy a new one. Some of the coin he could find in the donkey's kingdom would likely cover his expenses. Well, I hope you enjoyed Chapter 1. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you soon for Chapter 2.